Hey guys, welcome back. And this is the second lecture, and we're going to be talking about choice. We are laying the foundation for personal growth. And the foundation, the first thing we're going to start with here is choice. So, choice. As you can see right here, I've got all my information on the board. Choice. Why is choice so important? Okay, why is it important to personal growth? You know, like why is it such a big deal? Well, that's because to do anything, everything starts with choice to begin with. Every decision we make was made because we made a choice, right? Everything done today is done through our choices. Why is this important? This is extremely important because every human being on this planet has a choice. We all have a choice. We all can make choices. We all can make decisions, you know, and we can do good, we can do bad, for example. It all comes down to choice. Everything stems from choice. As a matter of fact, you're watching this video right here because you chose to watch it, right? Because you are choosing to watch it. So everything starts with choice. Everything starts with choice. And because of that, it only makes sense for choice to be the foundation of personal growth and to better understand it, so that you can basically understand why choice is so important and to see what choices you are making, whether those choices are good or bad, whether they're helping you in life or not, and overall just how to help you be more successful by understanding this, because this is extremely important. This is the foundation of personal growth. If you understand this, you've got about 30%, 40%, I could argue 50% of it. If you understand choice, you've got a solid foundation to begin your personal growth journey. So let's hop right into it. So choice, all right, mankind's ability to make a decision. All right, order versus chaos. Now, if you look around today, mankind is constantly putting things into order. Okay, for example, the world itself is chaotic. It is literally chaos. But if you look around though, and if you look throughout history, mankind has brought order to the chaos. Mankind has made wise choices, wise decisions that has, produced order, and that order has given us a better life. For example, we have buildings today, we have cars, we have electricity, we have, we're healthier now, we have medicine, for example. Life is better because we are producing order. We're bringing about order to the chaos. This is extremely important because if we just let the world go unchecked, there would be chaos. So much chaos. But mankind, this is a fact, mankind has the ability to produce order and to bring that chaos into subjection, basically. So yeah, this is an extremely important concept because it is your job to bring order to the chaos in your life. It is your job to bring order to the world. Why is this important? Because you can make the world a better place. You can make the world better than it currently is by bringing about order to the world, bringing order to the chaos. It is your job to bring order to chaos. I mean, just look throughout history. I mean, just look how far we've come. I mean, can you imagine what it's going to be, 100 years from now? But this is extremely important. And, I don't know if you guys read the Bible. I don't know if you guys are Christian. But, I'm Christian. But in Genesis, the Bible says that God created the heavens and the earth, right? So God created the heavens and the earth, right? And the earth was without form. The earth was, void, for example, right? But he brought about order. And if you go and you read Genesis, you read the whole chapter, right? It's basically the entire thing is God bringing order to chaos. It's God bringing order to the chaos. God is putting things into order. That's extremely important because as you keep reading Genesis, you see that, God says, let us make man in our image. Now, let us make man in our image. What does that mean? Well, if you look at mankind, no other species in the world has the ability to bring order like mankind does. No other species has that capacity to do that. And so that's extremely important, because, like we are constantly bringing about order and change to things. We're making things better for the world, for everyone. And that is a form of order. So when Genesis is talking about, let us make man in our image, that's what it's talking about. That's literally what it's saying in some sense, that, mankind is going to have the ability to bring about order, to challenge the chaos. At least, this is just, from my interpretation. And, for the sake of this lecture, just to get you guys an understanding of, where I'm coming from with this, order versus chaos. Everything starts with choice. Everything starts with choice. Nothing changes without choice. So my question is, what choices are you making? Are you bringing more chaos into the world, or are you bringing order into the world? That's an interesting question. Everything starts with choice. So, order versus chaos. It is your job to make life better. Make life better, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you, so that you can have a better future, a better now. Order versus chaos. Because we have freedom of choice. We have freedom of choice. And if we have freedom of choice, we can make wise decisions. We can change ourselves. We can improve ourselves. We can make decisions that can help us be better and give ourselves a better future, a better tomorrow, a better now, basically, by making wise choices, by making good choices. Freedom of choice. Every mankind has the freedom, the ability to choose. As a matter of fact, if you go back to Genesis, the first sin ever done in Genesis was mankind's ability to choose. Mankind chose to do that which was wrong. They ate the fruit. Read Genesis. But my point is this: mankind has freedom of choice. Freedom of choice. They can choose good or they can choose evil. It's up to the person. It's up to the individual. But that choice, as long as choice exists, there will always be the struggle, the temptation to choose evil over good, and vice versa. So that's extremely important. Freedom of choice. Every mankind on this planet has freedom of choice. Now, what's interesting is that that's a bit dangerous. Why is that dangerous? It's because if every man has freedom of choice, then that could produce even more chaos. Because every human being has their own moral standards, their own guidelines, their own ways of doing things. And why is this a problem? It's because if everyone has their own individual standards, their own moral compass of what is right and wrong, then there's going to be chaos. For example, for murder could be right to one person. All these evil things that happen in the world could be right because of freedom of choice. And so what ends up happening because of that, choice can become chaotic. Instead of bringing about order, choice can actually bring about chaos, because it is so subjective. We can make choices. We can make good choices. We can make bad choices. They can have a negative outcome or they can have a positive outcome, depending on the choices we make. So this is part of the reason why in our society today, we have, structure. We have order in place. But this order does not exist to take away our freedom. It exists to enable it so that we are safe. Basically to make sure that we are safe while we have our freedom of choice. Like, for example, if you look at the traffic lights, for example. Traffic lights, if you look at that, they're not taking away your freedom of choice. They're actually enabling it, but they're making it in such a way where you have freedom of choice. You're able to go where you want to go, but you are safe. And that is the point of rules today. That's why we have structure. That's why we have, laws, for example. They're there to basically help us be safe, because if we're just going around making choices on our own without some type of a universal moral code or moral guideline to guide our behavior, there would be absolute chaos. And that's the point of having, laws and things like that in place, is to keep our freedom and choice in check, our freedom of choice in check, and to also make sure that we are safe, that we're not killing anyone, right? That nobody's, like depraved or, something like that. That could happen. So we had to create order. But that is the point, freedom of choice. Now, these rules should not take away your freedom. Understand that. Like the rules we have today, they don't exist to take away our freedom. They exist so that we can be safe while we have our freedom, while we have our choice, while we make our choices. We can be safe. While we're driving out on the road, going wherever we want, we can be safe while we're doing it. That is the point of order. So it is important that in our choices that we produce order and not chaos, because, we have to make sure that we're doing good, right? We want a good outcome, not a bad one. So anyway, that's just interesting. Freedom of choice. Every mankind has freedom of choice. Every mankind. And every mankind can basically bring order into the world, to bring an order into the world to produce, a better result, a better outcome for not just themselves, but for humanity. All right. So control versus influence. Why is this important? Because control versus influence. So many people try to control things beyond their control. There's a difference between control and influence, because control comes from within. In other words, aka control versus influence, aka, internal versus the external. And so many people, they look externally, but they don't look internally. And see, what you have to understand, because every person has a choice, because every person has, a choice, we really don't have any control over other people. Like, for example, you can try to, put people in bondage, things like slavery, for example, African Americans, how they were enslaved. They still had a choice. That choice was still there. They could have rebelled. They didn't have to obey, right? I'm just using that as an example that as long as choice exists, freedom will always exist. So we don't really have as much control over people as we think. The only thing we really have control over is ourselves. That's extremely important, because so many people try to control other people. But you can't really do that. Now, what you can do is influence those people. You can influence them to take certain actions. But at the end of the day, the action they take, the action they choose, the choice is theirs. You can't make it for them. And that's extremely powerful. Why is that powerful? Because, so many people, focus on the external. You can't focus on the external because the external is beyond your control. Now, you can influence it. You can always make an internal choice to influence the external, but you cannot directly control the external. So what do you have to do? You have to control yourself. You have to look within. It's like, we're going to try and get people to do this, get people to do that, or we want people to help us out with this and that. But we need to be looking within ourselves, because that is where the true power comes. That is where the true control comes from. Stop watching the news, for example, negative news. What are you going to do about that? Like, do you have any control over that? Assuming the news is even real, like assuming it's not just fake news, let's be straight. So, yeah, stop watching the news, because the news is just an external force that you have no control over. What you need to be focused on is what's happening in your immediate life. How about you get a better job? How about you spend time with your family? How about you work on the business? How about you make choices that are going to give you a better life? Because the moment you start focusing on what other people are doing and external sources, it's the moment you run into problems. You have to always constantly be focused on you, because that's the only thing you can control. Your choice. Do not try to control other people's choices. And I think that's the biggest point here. Control versus influence. Never try to control other people's choice. And this goes for parents as well. Always give your kids a choice. Always, I'll never try to take away people's freedom of choice. All right, because that is mankind's gift. All right, that is mankind's. That is everything. Like it's choice is everything. Choice is how we change things. Choice is how we bring about order. Choice is how we protect ourselves. Yeah. So control versus influence is you can influence people. Understand that. I'm not saying you can't influence your friends, your family, but understand that, your wife, your spouse, your friends, your family, you really don't have as much control over these people as you think. As a matter of fact, you don't have any control. You can influence these people to make decisions, but at the end of the day, the choice is theirs. And so the only thing we really should be concerned about are the choices we are making. And the moment we start focusing on influence and external factors is the moment we stop focusing on the control or the internal factors that we can control, that we have immediate control over. Like your job, like your health, like going to the gym, for example, taking care of yourself, like starting a business, for example, educating yourself, working, being productive, being a better person. All these things, these are things you can't control. What other people are doing, whether or not other people are good people, whether or not other people are going to change, that's a waste of time. I hear this saying, I can change him. I can make him better. No, you can't. You can influence him to change, but it's up to him. Just throwing it out there. But you get my point. Control versus influence is important that we understand that the only thing we have control over is ourselves, the internal. We don't have as much control over the external and other people as we think. So don't focus on other people, focus on ourselves, focus internally so that we can improve our own lives. And as a result of improving our own lives, our influence will carry on into the lives of others, into the external, so that the external changes into something better, right? And this is extremely important. Why is this important? Because the power of the individual. See, so many people focus on a collective. They focus on the collective. They focus on, like, for example, races and things like that, different nationalities. And all of these things are important. I'm not saying they're not important, but people try to put people into a collective box. But people should be judged on an individual basis. And here is why. Because if every mankind has freedom of choice, then every mankind can choose different choices. It's too subjective. So we can't go putting people into a box and, saying, oh, well, these people do that and these people think this way and that way. And, things like that. When, yeah, okay, there are stereotypes, but that has a lot to do with culture and nurture, not necessarily, nature. And, it all comes down to choice. So we can't judge every person we come in contact with based on the nationality or a race, for example, or just like anything. For example, these, collective judgments we have towards people are not good because we have to judge people on an individual basis. Why do we have to judge people on an individual basis? Because every mankind has a choice. Every mankind has an individual choice. And because every mankind has an individual choice, that individual can choose good or evil. Therefore, we have to judge people as individuals, not as a collective. I understand, there's a lot of racism and things out there, but I still believe that, it comes down to the individual level first, And I'm not being naive as to think that there isn't a lot of bad out there. But here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, because these things are more to do with nurture and the culture that we grew up in, that the external, for example, not necessarily the internal, but the external influence that is dictating, certain behaviors, for example, like racism and all these negative stereotypes and stigmas. Because it has a lot to do with nurture, it comes from influence, which means it comes from somebody else's influence. somebody else's internal viewpoints. And what happens is that this influence gets passed down to our children, to our, to people we care about, our friends, our spouse. All these people we come in contact with, our influence is passed down to them. And because of that, that is how we create culture. That is what's called nurture. And before you know it, this spreads and spreads to the next person, and it spreads to this person and that person. And before you know it, you have this culture or this way of doing things, or you have this viewpoint. All right. So how are we going to change that? Well, it starts with the individual. The individual has to change their perspective, and they have to change their choice. And then when they change themselves, they will begin to influence others around them, so that in fact they begin to change the culture itself to a better one. So this is the point, and I believe this is correct. We should judge people on an individual basis. Like me, I don't want to be judged for my father's mistakes or my father's wrongdoings, or my family's, my ancestors, basically. I don't want to be judged by my ancestors' mistakes, or, a collective's, my people's mistakes, for example. I want to be judged as an individual because it's my choice at the end of the day. And I think this is the way forward. I think this is the way we should go about this, is we should judge people on an individual basis and stop with all these collective judgments, when every mankind has a choice. And because every mankind has a choice, you can't predict choice. It's too subjective. There's way too much going on to even predict choice. So that's the point there. It's that choice is way too subjective to put everybody in a box, when every single individual has an individual choice. That's the whole point. The power of the individual, not the collective, okay? That's extremely important. You have a choice, and you can make the right choice. You can make the wrong one. You can make a choice. And so, victim mindset. This is extremely important, because so many people today, they don't take ownership. They're always blaming other people. And it's just like I said, so many people, they focus on the external, they focus on influence, and they see that as control. They see that as a way to where they can't get results in their life. They can't do anything. They can't move forward. So they have a victim mindset. I'm this way because somebody else's choice. You see the problem with that? If you are giving someone else, an external force, the power, all right, over your life, what's the issue there? They have the power, they have the control, and you have no control. You have no power, you have no choice. But you do have a choice. But so many people, they focus on the external, they focus on what other people are doing. But what you have to understand, you can't wait on other people to change, because you don't have control over other people. You don't have control over the external. The only thing you have control over is the internal. And because of that, you have to stop behaving like a victim. You have to take responsibility for your own life. Oh, wait, I'm going to get to that. But the victim mindset, you have to stop thinking that you're a victim. Because as long as you have a choice, you can choose to make your life better. Make life better for yourself. You can choose to make wise choices, to have a better future, to have a better now. And I see so many people today, they blame other people. They don't take responsibility for their actions. And they're constantly blaming others as to why they can't get results in their life. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you got a choice, if you're a human being and you have a choice to make a decision, you can make decisions that can give you a better future. It's like, change your mind. In order to change your life, you have to change your mind. Then you have to change your action. And that action that you've changed will allow you to change your life. Oh, well, yeah, I already know that. Well, why are so many people not doing this? So many people are like focused on the news, for example. I don't watch the news because it's just full of negativity. It's so negative. I don't want to watch that. I don't want that, because whatever you focus on in life is going to expand. And I don't want to focus on negativity. and things that are beyond my control. You know what I want to focus on? I want to focus on things I can control, like, growing a business, learning how to start a business, learning from other people, basically working a job, for example, finding jobs, finding new opportunities, and bettering myself as a person, spending time with family. These are things I can control. And instead of wasting my energy and time on things that don't matter, like the news, for example, things I have no control over, I can just spend my time being productive and solving problems. Be a solution-focused person instead of a problem-focused person. Why not focus on solutions? Anyway, this is a big deal because I see so many people doing this with this victim mindset, where they're blaming other people and they're giving other people the power. They're giving an external force the power over their life as an excuse to not move forward, to not change, to basically stay where they are, to procrastinate. Whatever it is, they are not taking responsibility for themselves. They are not the captain of their own ship. They're allowing somebody else to be the captain. You see the problem with that? The problem with that is that they don't understand choice. They don't understand freedom of choice. They don't understand that as long as you have breath in you, you always have a choice. I don't care, what it's like, I don't care what obstacles you have to overcome. You can still face those obstacles. You can still overcome them. I mean, for example, you look at it wasn't too long ago until African Americans were slaves. We had it real bad. Things have changed. Why? Because we made choices that we made the right choices that gave us a better future. You see these African American leaders, Martin Luther, for example, Malcolm X. These guys, they didn't sit around and complain. They talked about issues, but they made choices that worked on solving the issues. And that's extremely important because so many people don't do that. They want to sit and talk about problems, or they want to sit and talk about how bad life is and how unfair life is. You know what? Okay, it's unfair, but what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to sit and let life beat you up? Or are you going to actually, grow some balls? Or, are you going to grow something and do something about it? Make a choice. Take responsibility. Put your big boy pants on and do something about it. Because what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? Stop being the victim, which leads me to point number 2, responsibility. Take responsibility for your actions. Because if you understand choice, then you understand that you are responsible for the choices you make because they are your choices. And nobody is making that choice for you. You are making it for yourself. Now, other people can influence you to make certain choices, but at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. It's your fault if you made the choice. So don't blame other people. Don't blame anyone but yourself. You are where you are in life right now because you have allowed yourself to be there. And if you really wanted to change things, you would make choices to change your life. And you might say I'm being too hard. No, I'm not being too hard. It's the truth. We all have a choice. We all have a choice in everything we do. And I'm so tired of people not accepting responsibility for their actions. I'm so tired of people basically blaming other people. You take this victim mindset and then you take a person who doesn't, basically have a person who doesn't accept responsibility, who doesn't understand that I'm responsible for my actions. I'm responsible for where my life is headed. The choice is mine. I've got freedom of choice. I'm the captain of my own ship. And wherever I choose to take the ship, that's where it's going to go. Where are you taking the ship? And this is extremely important because I don't really have a lot of friends, say. And one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of friends is because I can see the strength of character in people. I can see, who has integrity, who has strength of character, who is, showing responsibility, who is being responsible for their actions. I can see who has a victim mindset. If you're going to come and talk to me about problems, all you have to do is talk about problems and, how bad the world is, how bad life is, but you're not willing to fix anything. You're not willing to take steps to make it better. then you're not someone I really want to associate with. If you're someone who wants to blame other people and, not take responsibility for your life, then you're not somebody I want to associate with. And, I'm not being harsh. I'm just telling you the truth, because we have to be careful who influences us, right? Because control versus influence. We have to be careful who influences us, who we have in our lives, because, that they can influence us for the better or the worse. And I don't want to hang around people who don't take responsibility for their lives and who behave like victims. You want to know why there's a lot of envy and strife today and jealousy today? Well, that's because a lot of people don't understand choice. And a lot of people don't take responsibility for their life. All right? They want to blame other people, and they want to, they don't want to be accountable for anything. Well, I'd rather be accountable for my life. I'd rather have responsibility. I'd rather be in control, because when I'm in control, I can change things. I can make my life better. I'm responsible for where my life goes. I'm responsible if things are going to get better or not, because it is my job to control the chaos. It is my job to bring about order. If things are not good in the world, I have a choice. I have the opportunity, the freedom to make a choice to make it better. Like, for example, look at Martin Luther King, look at, Malcolm X. Look at these people, these men that made the world better for other people because they made wise choices, because they made choices that were focused on solutions. All right? It all starts with us. And we try to get other people to change. No, this is not about other people. This is about you. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because your problems are your problems. Nobody really cares. You're trying to get people to do this and get people to do that. Why don't you start by making the right choices? Why don't you start by making the choice yourself and giving yourself the power, giving yourself the keys, instead of putting the keys in somebody else's hands? Why don't you be the captain of the ship for once and decide where your life is going to go? Stop being the victim. Stop being jealous of other people who have more than you, because they understand this, because they take responsibility for their life. By the way, a lot of successful people, a lot of entrepreneurs, and not just entrepreneurs, but like anybody who does anything great in life, they really have a good understanding of responsibility, of choice. They understand choice. They understand that they can control things. They understand the internal control they have over the external. Not people, but I'm saying they understand their ability to control the chaos, to bring about order. And because of that, they're always making choices that are setting them up for success, setting them up to win. What choices are you making right now? I don't know. Or you just, I don't know what you're doing. Drinking, smoking? Are these things really helping you in life? Or you, I don't know what you're doing. But just think about the choices you're making. Seriously. And are you taking responsibility for your life? Because in order to change your life, you have to change your mind, change the way you think about things, and then you have to change your action. You have to take action, and then that action you change will allow you to change your life. So many people stop at the mind. They just, I see that. I think differently about that. Do you actually take the time to take the action so that you can get a different result in life, so that you can change your life? Do you actually do that? So many people don't do that. So many people are not making a choice. And for those of you who are taking the time to watch this video, you're making the right choice, because this is going to help you. Responsibility. I am not trying to have relationships, friendships with people who do not accept responsibility for their life, who are not accountable, who are victims, basically, who are envious and jealous of other people's success because they don't have it and they feel like they can't get it and this and that. I don't have time for that. I'm looking for people who have strength of character. I'm looking for people who have responsibility, who are responsible. All right, strength of character, integrity, for example. And you might be saying, well, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Darius, but, I'm afraid to make choices, I'm afraid of the consequences. I'm afraid to follow my dreams. I'm afraid to basically step out because it's new. I've never done this before. I've never done this and that. All these excuses. There's a lot of fear in the world. I understand that. Fear is everywhere. Fear is everywhere, and fear can try to keep us from making choices. Let's be straight. Fear of the unknown, fear of the uncertain, fear of today, just things happening, which is why I don't really like watching the news, because fear is such, a crippler, right? But anyway, this is a thing. And, but here's the thing, though. Fear versus courage, right? Fear versus courage. See, so many people think, well, I need to be fearless, No, you don't need to be fearless. What you need to have is courage. What is courage? Courage is the ability to do something that frightens one, all right, or that scares one. Courage is the ability to stand in the face of fear, to persevere, basically. That is courage. Fear versus courage. Faith versus fear. All right, have courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the mastery of fear. Where there's always going to be things that scare us. There's always going to be uncertainties. There's always going to be reasons as to why we should make choices. But at the end of the day, the price for us not making the choice is not having a better life. So we need to make choices. We need to have courage. We need to step outside of our comfort zone so that we can make life better, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. Because as our life improves, so does the life of everyone around us. It improves as well because we have influence. I'm tired of hearing this argument of, well, I'm going to, sacrifice my dreams and my future, and I'm not going to eat and all of this because I need to protect my children. I need to provide for my children. I need to take care of my kids and my family and my friends and all of this. So I can't be happy for myself. This is stupid. This is bullcrap, because what you don't understand is that the way you are treating yourself is how you are telling other people it is okay to live. If you live that way, then other people are going to live the same way. That's the influence you're carrying to those people. So you're carrying that influence to your kids, to your family, and you're setting an example for them to do the same. Whereas if you actually take care of yourself, and if you were actually happy for once, and you solved these problems, and you made life better for yourself, then they would see that, and then you would set an example for them, especially your children, right? And you would begin to influence them for the better. Because when you're happy, everyone around you is naturally just more happy, right? Everything's better when everybody's happy and everybody's getting along with one another. Everybody is perfect harmony, perfect peace, right? Instead of trying to be the hero, the tragic hero, and sacrifice your future for the sake of someone else, you're not helping anybody with that. What you need to do is you need to take care of yourself. You need to respect yourself, love yourself, so that you can love other people, so that you can set an example for them, so that they would pattern your life after you, so that you can influence them for the better. That'd be more effective. Anyway, fear versus courage. Have courage. I know there's a lot of fear. Fear is everywhere, but we can't let fear stop us from living life. Fear versus courage. If I have to choose between fear versus courage, I choose courage. I choose to face my fears. I'm not gonna let anything stop me. I choose courage. I choose faith. Because you think making these videos is easy and, like, oh, I'm just having the time of my life. No, I don't know what you guys are going to think about this. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but I'm putting it out there. I'm having courage. I'm having faith, because if I'm not moving towards anything, if I'm not moving towards my goals, if I'm not taking action and I'm allowing fear to stop me, then my life is not going to change. And the thing about it is, what could your life be if you made better choices? What could your life be if you actually change your life from making good choices? Could it be better than what it is? Could you maybe do more for your family? Could you, maybe help the world better than the way you currently are? Could you bring about some good if you reach your full potential? Just what if you took responsibility for your life? Where would the world be? How much better would the world be? How much influence for good could you do? Interesting. Ask yourself that. Ask yourself, what choices are you making, and are they really effective? Are they really doing any good to anyone, or are they just selfish choices? Self-sabotaging choices. So fear versus courage. Have courage. And don't be envious and jealous of other people who have more than you. Have the courage to learn from them, because life is fair. Oh wait, I know people are going to be triggered. I just talked about the victim mindset. So people were like, life is fair. Right? How could you say that? Life is fair in the sense that we all have a choice. Every human being has a choice. And because every human being has a choice, there is equal opportunity. Equal opportunity. And that is what makes life fair, because each human being has the power to make a choice to give themselves a better life, to bargain with life, to negotiate with life for themselves on their own behalf. Well, you might be saying, I didn't start off with, $1 million. I didn't start off being a billionaire, but, some kid or some guy, inherited all this money from his father. Okay, well, you do realize that somebody made that choice to get to that point. It was somebody else's choice. What choices are you going to make in your life? What choices are you going to make to ensure that you could have a future like that, or something close to it, if not greater? Are you going to make the choices? Are you going to take responsibility for your life to get there? Because there is a way to get there. There is a way to achieve. Anything is possible. You can achieve anything you set out to achieve, but you've got to make wise choices. You got to learn from other people, and stop being envious of others when they have more than you. And understand this: if you understand choice, and you understand responsibility, and you understand that your life changes based on the choices you make, not what anyone else is doing, not what anyone else has. What are you doing? What is happening in your life? And what are you doing to make life better for yourself? When you understand that, then you're really not jealous of anybody, because you take ownership. You take ownership, and you're not looking, you're not looking for anybody to change. You're changing. You're not looking for anybody else to make things happen for you. You make things happen for yourself. So life is fair because there is equal opportunity, not equality in outcome. There is no equality in outcome. Why? Because people are not willing to do what some people are willing to do. People are not willing to make the same choices. It's as simple as that. You want to be successful, you want to have a successful business, well, you're going to have to make the choices. You're going to have to make the choice to be in business. You're going to have to make the choice to educate yourself. Most people aren't willing to do that. Most people aren't willing to take the risk. Most people aren't willing to have the courage to do so. Are you going to have the courage? Are you going to make wise choices? Are you going to make bold choices? Or are you going to stay in your comfort zone because that's what you choose to do? Because you choose to let fear dictate your life, basically. But when you understand choice, everything is equal in the sense that we all have a choice. Equal opportunity. Equal opportunity to make a choice. Equal opportunity to change our lives. Seriously. Like, this is it. Equal opportunity. Not everybody, not equal outcome. Everybody's not going to have the same outcome. Everybody's not going to have the same things because everybody's not doing the same thing. And that's the point. That would be kind of whack, right? If everybody just had everything and we didn't earn anything ourselves, we didn't work for anything, we didn't make things happen for ourselves, that'd be pretty whack. That sucks. What's the point in like striving towards anything, moving towards anything, if everybody else is going to be equal and we're just going to have the same stuff? No, that's not right. What is right is having equal opportunity, having, equal ability to make choices and decisions. And while I know the world is not perfect, and I know there are external forces that try to keep certain people and certain, there are certain things out there that try to keep people from doing this, but the reality of the matter is they really can't stop you as an individual. If you choose to go after something, nobody's really going to stop you. And especially in today's day and age, we live and we're in a blessed time right now. We have the internet, which is full of knowledge. You can learn anything you want. There is really no need to not move towards your goals right now, and especially if you live in the United States. I mean, come on. But life is equal in the sense that we all have a choice. I mean, and what we do with that choice is up to us. Now, we can move towards success or we can move towards failure. But life is equal in that sense because there is equal opportunity, not equal outcome, because the outcome and what we do with that, what we have, that depends on us. That depends on the choices we make. But we all have a choice. And what we do with that is ours. That's on us. So own it. Own it, because life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we respond to it. See, so many people focus on what's happening to them and are not focusing on how they respond to it enough. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. Why? Because you could make a gazillion choices that could completely change the outcome of any situation. Any and every situation. So, how are you going to respond to life today? What choice are you going to make? Are you going to keep behaving like a victim, or are you going to be the captain of your own ship? Or are you going to take responsibility? That would be a good place to start. Actually, watching this video is a good place to start. But if you want to take it even farther, actually apply what I've taught you here. Actually, bring about order and, have freedom of choice. Go after what you want. Stop focusing on the external and focus on the internal. Focus on what you are doing and where you are going with your life. And, don't rely on other people to change. You change yourself. How about you understand the power of the individual and, understand that everything is on you. You are your own person, and you are not defined based on how other people think of you. You are defined on how you think of yourself, how you respect yourself. Like, above all else, respect thyself. Because if you don't respect yourself, nobody else will, right? How can you love your neighbor if you don't first love yourself, right? How can you respect anyone else if you don't first respect yourself? Stop relying on other people to respect you, because you can't control what other people think, but you can control what you think. So respect yourself. The power of the individual, not the collective, not the external. Victim mindset. Stop thinking that you don't have power, that you don't have control. You have more power and more control than you think in your life. And what you do matters. What you do affects your family. It affects your kids. It affects your friends, your community, your people at your job. It affects the world, and that could be for good or bad, negative or positive. What you do matters. So stop being a victim and acting like you're powerless. Stop giving someone else the power. The power is in your hand. Take responsibility. Responsibility for your life. Take ownership of your life. Be the captain. Be the boss. You know, make a choice. You're not happy with your job, go find another job. Because at the end of the day, it's your choice. You know, you're not a slave to your job. You can choose to find another one. Take responsibility for your life. You know, don't rely, here's a nugget. Don't rely on a paycheck. Rely on your resourcefulness to get a paycheck. Did you catch that? I hope you did. But anyway, fear versus courage. Have courage. Everybody feels fear. Everybody feels fear, but what are you going to do with that? Are you going to have strength in the face of fear, boldness in the face of fear, or are you going to let fear stop you from taking action? No, have courage. Have courage. The ability to do something that frightens one. Have courage to do what you fear. And then understand that life is fair because we all have a choice. And if you want something, if you see somebody who has something you want, don't be afraid to learn from those people. Don't be afraid to admire those people. And, try to learn from those people and learn how they got there, because you can make the same choices and you could get a similar result. And because of that, because we all have a choice, there's equal opportunity for us all. Not equal outcome, but at least we understand we can all make choices and we can all be doing the best we can, being the best we can be, because that's all that really matters. All that really matters is the internal, who we are. And then understanding that life is 10% what has happened to us and 90% how we respond to it. We have a choice in everything we do, and because we have a choice in everything we do, we have a choice in how we respond to life. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. It doesn't matter what has happened. We have a choice in how we respond to situations. You know, I don't know what has happened in your life. I don't really know, but all I know is that you have a choice in how you respond to situations, to circumstances, to, things that may have happened in your life that would try to make you a victim. Things that happen, you have the choice to rise above it, to transcend that, to be something more than that, because the choice is yours. The choice is always yours. Remember, the world can influence us, but it can't control us. I mean, if it could control us, people would stop breaking the law, right? It can't. It can influence us, but the choice is always ours. So you have to understand that we are not what has happened to us. We are what we choose to become. You are not what has happened to you. I don't care what has happened to you in the past. You are what you choose to become. So choose to become something great. Choose to become something great. Something of your own making. Not what somebody else has tried to make you into. Not what society has tried to make you into. What you choose to make yourself into. You are not what has happened to you. You are what you choose to become. Do not become a victim. Be the captain of your own ship. Take control of your life. Understand choice. Because if you understand choice, you're on your way to success. So, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this lecture. If you found some value out of this, share it with your friends, family. And be sure to subscribe, because I believe this can change the world. I believe I'm doing good here, and I believe, one step at a time, this information could change the world on a massive scale. Why? Because influence, right? Influence. And I want to influence the world for the better. And you guys can be a part of that by sharing this with people and also subscribing so you can get the news, right? More news and more lectures coming up. So so we talked about choice, and in the next video we're going to be talking about self-respect. This is part 1 on the foundations to personal growth, and I'll see you guys for part 2. Take care.